Welcome to Senior Moments, the show where we talk about all things senior, the good, the bad, and the utterly ridiculous. Today I have with me Karen Rovane. She is with the Volcano Theater in Amador County. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Yes, it is exciting. I love theater.
Oh, it's wonderful.
It is. What got you interested in theater?
Oh, I didn't know anything about it. Not a thing. Never worked on any high school theater or anything, but I had moved to Amador County from the Bay Area, and I had a job, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, but I realized I didn't have any community going on. So I started going to watch a couple of their shows, and eventually they made a plea for volunteers, and I came back and auditioned for a show. I didn't get the part, but the director took me under his wing and just started teaching me things, and 30 years later.
So do you have some acting under your wing now?
A little acting, but it's not my comfort zone.
Ah, okay.
I do a lot of other things, a lot of fun and a lot of varied jobs, but I have been on stage a couple times.
That's the best thing about community theater. You don't have to get stuck in a certain role.
Exactly. There's 1,000 different things you can do. So whatever your passion is, if you paint or if you like to sew or design or decorate or act or work backstage, we got a job for you.
That is wonderful. So how did the Volcano Theater get started?
Oh, it's such a fabulous story. Started with one little lady, a little firebrand. Her name was Muriel Thibault, and she and her family lived in Volcano. They owned a couple properties, and she owned this little storefront that had been a historical building back to the gold rush times. It had been a cigar shop and then an art gallery. And in 1974, Muriel said, I think we need a theater in Volcano. And she called some of her friends, and they got together, and they actually created, I had to write it down, they created the Volcano Pioneer Community Theater Group. And in 1974, they put on The Prisoner of Second Avenue, which rumor has it had either still been on Broadway or had just closed on Broadway, and we were the first non-professional theater company to stage that play. It was very popular at the time. And one of the founding members, Giles Turner, was the lead in Prisoner of Second Avenue. And then later that same year, they did Noel Coward's Blithe Spirit, and from then, it just took off. And this small group of people in this small building that Muriel had, and she put some seats in, it just took off. And every year for the last 50 years, we have been putting on community theater in Volcano. So it started with one person. It's just mind-boggling.
That is amazing. Now, I am a little vague on, I know you've got the big, beautiful outdoor
the amphitheater,
which is absolutely amazing. I've gone to a play, and it's there, and it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful venue, and you can take your snacks and your drinks and bring your lunch if you want to. I mean, it's just an amazing venue for a family to come to and watch a play.
Absolutely.
And then, so tell me about this. Does the storefront still exist? Do you still have some indoor plays as well?
We do. So what ultimately happened is Muriel got the ball rolling, and then eventually she realized that this group was going to just carry it into the future. So eventually the group renamed itself the Volcano Theater Company, filed for its nonprofit status, and Muriel, seeing that it was in good hands and was going to continue, she actually gifted us that theater property. And that theater property is the Cobblestone Theater. It is still there. We still do 2 to 3 shows a year in that venue. And rumor has it, it is the smallest fixed-seat theater in the state of California. We only have 37 fixed theater seats in that venue. So anything you go and see in there is so intimate and so amazing. The stage itself is only like 13 feet by 17 feet. It's teeny tiny. So the plays are always amazing and very intimate, and you're right up close with the actors, and it's a whole magical experience. So what happened was, years later, after that was going on, the company looked across the street at this beautiful piece of property that gently sloped down towards the river, the creek, and thought, that would be a great theater property. And the original intention was to actually build a theater. And apparently there were 3 different owners of that specific property, and more magic, I believe one of the owners donated his piece. One of the owners sold it for $1, and the third owner was generous.
Nice.
So we were able to acquire this property. It was Muriel's son, Chris, who had the idea that rather than try to raise the money to build this venue, that we just use it as an outdoor amphitheater. And the slope was perfect for everybody to just sit with their blankets and whatever. And then they built a stage down at the bottom. And that has morphed over the years. We've now have beautiful terrace and the stage. So yeah, that's how the amphitheater came to be. So we do have the two different venues. We always have a spring and sometimes a fall and a Christmas production inside in the cobblestone.
Okay.
And then 1 or 2 outside productions in the amphitheater.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But the inside one, only 37 people can go at a time. Is that correct?
We add about 8 folding chairs, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it sells out a lot. You got to get your tickets early, but it's an amazing experience.
And how much do tickets cost?
Tickets are $22 for an adult ticket, $20 for senior. And in the outdoor theater only, we have a special rate for youth, because a lot of times we do a youth-centered play outside for the summers and the families. And the youth ticket is $16.
Oh, that is so affordable.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is wonderful.
Yeah. And because we are nonprofit, and we are, which this is the magical of all magicals, completely volunteer driven. All of our people, costumers, set builders, actors, you name it. If you're at the theater, it's a volunteer position. So in order to continue to put on productions and the maintenance and improvements to the facilities, the 2 theaters, all of our ticket prices all go back into the company to maintain that, to keep our properties in good condition and keep productions rolling along. And as you know, everything's gotten so expensive.
Oh, that's the truth.
Man, fabric to make costumes and wood and paint to build sets. But we're trying to keep our ticket prices down because we're doing this for the community.
Right.
So.
Well, I haven't bought lumber lately, but I know that during COVID, like a sheet of plywood had tripled in price. It was crazy.
It's crazy. It's come down a little bit since the high, but we still have to be very careful. And even other things that you don't think of, but our PG&E and our fire insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And crazy things, too, like the royalties that we have to pay to put on a play have gone up for like weird... Like, why, you know? But, yeah. So all the money we make goes right back into putting on productions, and all of our people are volunteers, which is just amazing, because we're all there for one passionate, artistic reason, and that's to put on the best production we can for our community.
Are your volunteers weighted heavily to seniors, or are you getting a good cross-section of the community to volunteer?
We would love to have a big cross-section of the community, obviously, because of the youth in the community is what's going to propel us into the future.
Exactly.
But it's hard because things have changed, and young people are usually raising families and working very hard to just, be. So I would say a majority of our people are retired, but for casting, for example, we put out a wide net, and so it depends on the show, what kind of age groups we need. And the acting will, a lot of times, bring the younger kids in.
Sure.
And Giles Turner, again, one of our founding members, he has been in charge of the drama department, the performing arts department at our high school for generations. I mean,
that's a
God, he's a local hero.
Yes.
So they put productions on all the time, and a lot of times that he'll refer some of his students to our younger productions. We're doing Charlotte's Web this summer, for example.
Oh, what fun.
Yes. So we're hoping that a lot of families come out and audition, because we need some kids and we need some adults, and it's a perfect chance for a family to come and enjoy a summer experience together being in a play.
And if I know somebody that's got a pig, do you need a pig?
I don't think we're going to use any actual real animals, but thank you.
No, we had a great video last year at our Love Your Pet contest.
Oh,
it was
fun.
This pig. Oh, my gosh, that pig was so funny. She put a little skirt on it, and then she had the shot from the butt and this little skirt and this music that was, and when I walk, my butt shakes, and it was just so cute.
That's adorable.
That pig would be perfect for
And
you.
it's trained to some degree.
I think so.
Oh, my gosh. Well, if the director needs a real pig, I'll be in touch.
All right.
That's a riot.
What else are you going to put on this year?
Our very first show is in the Cobblestone because it'll be spring and chilly.
Okay.
And it's actually the world premiere production of a show called Keep On Laughing by Paul Elliott. We're super excited to be the world premiere. It's a sequel to a play that he wrote a number of years ago that we actually produced back then.
Right.
So this is a sequel, and again, world premiere, that's a big deal. So we're excited about that. And then our first show in the outdoor amphitheater, which opens in June, is a comedy called Drinking Habits.
Okay.
And it's going to be very funny. The setting is a nunnery or a convent, and the Mother Superior is a teetotaler, and they have a vineyard, but they make grape juice and sell it in town. Well, the convent is struggling, so two of the other nuns, without the Mother Superior's permission, they have been turning some grape juice into wine and selling it under the table to make money to keep the convent going. And there's some misdirected who's who, and it's very funny. It's going to be, and it's a farce, so it's a lot of in and out of doors and stuff, so it'll be really funny.
That sounds hysterical.
And then we'll have Charlotte's Web, the second summer show. And then for Christmas, our Christmas shows are so amazing. This one is called The Christmas Foundling.
Okay.
And it was actually written for Sierra Rep by a gentleman named Norman Allen. And the setting is the gold country and a miner's cabin in the mountains. And a baby is left on the doorstep. And it's just, I get goosebumps talking about it. The play is just amazing. So our Christmas show is going to be off the charts.
Oh,
so we're excited.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So get your tickets now because it's going to sell out.
Yeah, the Christmas one always sells out. It's shocking. Sometimes our Christmas productions sell out before we even open. That's
lovely.
It's fabulous. We love it. We love it. And of course, Christmas, everybody's in such a good mood. And yeah, we enjoy our Christmas productions a lot.
Oh, yeah. And with only 37 plus 8, 45 seats, you got to get your ticket early.
Yeah, and we usually do 3 shows a weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday matinee for like 5 or 6 weekends.
Oh, okay.
So, we try to stretch it out and make it worth everybody's while.
So when you guys get into production and you have your auditions, so typically how far in advance do you do the auditions? Like for your first show, have you done the auditions for those for this year already?
Yes, the auditions for Keep On Laughing were held at the end of January, and we opened the first week of April. So so it's interesting because our whole process is we have approved directors.
Okay.
You have to come up through a learning process to be a director for the company. You have to assistant direct twice because there's a whole lot more that goes into directing a play than just telling people where to stand.
All right.
But we have a play reading committee, and they take submissions from our approved directors a year in advance.
Oh, my goodness.
So, like, we're starting now to read plays that we're going to be considering for 2025.
Okay.
So the committee reads all the plays and decides what might make a good season for us because we like to have a variety of maybe some mystery, some comedy, drama, a kid show, whatever. And then by September, they'll submit a short list to the board of directors, and the board of directors will make the final decision. So what we have to do is we have to pick a season, usually before the end of the year, so that we can start advertising for the following year and selling season tickets and whatnot. And the process is you actually have to purchase and pay for the rights to the show before you can even advertise it. And sometimes we don't get the rights. So we have to apply for the rights for the shows for the season that we want, hope we get the rights, and when we get the rights, then we can start advertising for the following year. So it all starts a year in advance. So some of our directors have a whole year to plan and think and make their audition dates and start thinking about what they want their set to look like and what they want their costumes to look like and get their team together. And then as the time rolls around. Our auditions are always open to everybody and anybody. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I had zero experience with any kind of theater. So anybody can come and read for us and audition. And if you don't get a part, or even if you get a part, if you feel like doing something else in the production, we're always looking for volunteers for that. So they usually spend 2.5 months in rehearsal, 2 to 3 times a week. The actors obviously have to memorize their lines, and then during the rehearsals, they're told what their blocking is. That's where you're going to stand and where you're going to move on whatever lines. The costumers come in and take everybody's measurements and figure out what they're going to do. Depending on the play, if it's contemporary, then it's easier. We do take advantage of our local thrift shops a lot to get clothing items and even furniture items.
Sure.
Because we're on a budget, always on a budget. And then the set builders will get together with the set designers and figure out, do we need a window? Do we need 2 doors, 1 door? Is there a kitchen? Whatever. And then the set decorator comes in and works with the director to pick colors and furniture and carpeting or whatever they want. And everybody just all works together in one big, cohesive, artistic, fabulously creative situation to get the show open. It's magic. It really is. I can't describe it any better. It's just.
Marty Crane has a favorite saying, when community comes together, magic happens.
Exactly, yes. Exactly. And when they're artistic and creative people that all have a common goal, and they're all there because they want to be there, not because they're being paid to be there, you just can't beat it.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
Since you have to pay for the plays and get the rights and all that,
yeah.
How do the directors get their copy? Do they have to pay for that just to review it, or are there review copies available so that they say, oh, I know about this, and this play. I'd like to look at all of them a little closer. How do they get the copies?
We do have to buy the scripts from the publisher, yeah. So there used to be big catalogs, actually, and now it's all online. But you can, if you wanted to do a play with a simple set and 3 actors, you can actually look that up, and every publisher will say, okay, well, these are all the plays we have with 3 actors or 5 actors or whatever, and you can read a synopsis of the play.
Okay.
Sometimes we're familiar with it because it's been made into a movie or something,
right.
And other times you have no idea what it is. So they read the synopsis and they think, okay, well, that sounds interesting, and then we'll order them the script. And the scripts usually run $10, $15.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
It's the rights that are going to cost you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, each performance, the publisher wants to know how many performances we're going to put on and what our average audience attendance is. And somehow from that information, they decide what they're going to charge us to put on the play.
Interesting.
And if it's a musical, it's even more expensive because not only are you paying for the script, but you're paying royalties on the lyrics and the music.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so they're a little expensive. We don't do a lot of musicals.
Yeah. So I am really curious about, costuming. We had somebody here quite a few years ago from SRT that was talking about how when she did the costuming, she would, for example, if you and I were a couple, then she would have us in similar colors. Or maybe you'd have a blue top and a white pant. I might have a white top, blue skirt. Who knows? And honestly, since I found that out, I've been watching when I watch TV, I'm going, wow, look at that. They really do. They really, tend to group people so that I guess psychologically you put them together. Is that how that works?
That might play a part into it. From what I've worked on and what I've seen, again, everybody has to work together, the director's vision and the set designer's vision, decorator's vision, and the costumer, because all the colors do have to go.
Right.
So the costumers, if it's contemporary, just say, for example, if the walls of the living room or whatever your set is going to be turquoise, for example, then the costumers need to take that into account when they pick whatever colors the costumes are going to be.
Oh,
because you don't want, to put the lead actress in a turquoise dress if the walls are turquoise or whatever. So they work that all out. And yeah, if a couple's going to be together, they might consider putting them in some kind of corresponding outfit so they look like a couple. You don't have to think about it, maybe.
Right.
But even more fun than like a contemporary play is, for example, we did James and the Giant Peach a few years ago.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, the costumes, the group of costumers got together, and every person was assigned a bug. You know, there was a centipede, and there was a spider, and I don't know what, there was a cricket. And everybody went away and thought about what they wanted to do to make their costume happen. And then we regrouped, and everybody talked about what their idea was. You know, the centipede was going to be orange, and they were going to have foam pipe insulation cut into 8-inch segments and covered in fabric with a little shoe on the end.
Oh my gosh.
And they were going to be sewn into the costume from the shoulders all the way to the ankles.
Oh my gosh.
So, and everybody had a different idea. And so it was all approved by the director, and the colors were approved and everything. And then everybody went off and made the costume for their specific actor. And the costumes for that show were just really adorable. And we've done Alice in Wonderland. The costumes were, I mean,
what fun.
Oh my gosh. So that's kind of the fun thing too, is, you know, depending upon how much time you have and how much involvement, if you were passionate about doing a costume, but you didn't want to like costume a whole show, you could get involved in one specific show where they needed a specific costume made, and you could be responsible for just that one costume. So your level of involvement is where you want it to be, and you still can express your creativity and have a lot of fun with the group.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. You know, that has fascinated me because, I watch Star Trek, and
great costumes.
Yeah, one of the things that I read was when Worf went away from his little cloth sash that he had the very first show or the first season, they changed it, and the second sash that he wore was made out of bicycle chains and leather.
Oh, fun.
Isn't that amazing?
That's creative.
It's so creative. Yeah. And they talked about going to like Home Depot and getting lava rock to use for some of the moon scenes or, off-planet scenes and stuff like that. But it's just amazing to me, the everyday items that can get repurposed.
Exactly.
And turned into something that has nothing to do with, a bicycle chain is now this vest or sash. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me.
That's very fun. I love that. We do repurpose a lot of things. We don't have a lot of room to store a lot of props and a lot of furniture, but every once in a while you find a piece, especially with the little tiny cobblestone stage, if you find a petite piece of furniture. And over the years, we might have used it in a dozen productions. We might have painted it 12 times, and, or recovered it or whatever. And it's always that same little piece. But when you find something that works, you kind of got to grab onto it because things are getting harder to find.
Oh, absolutely.
So with this current play that we're staging right now, we bought a little tiny fabulous petite little couch on Craigslist. We had to go to Folsom to pick it up. And it was super inexpensive, which we were grateful for. And we bought 2 wingback chairs. We went to Glencoe, and that was on Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
So we're always, it's like, okay, we need this and this and this. So we get online and try to do our best to find it. So it's part of what a set designer would do. If you were interested in designing sets, You decide what kind of furniture you need and what we have and what we can adjust to and what we have to go out and scavenge for. So
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was Stage 3 Theater in Sonora. I don't believe it's in existence anymore. But I'll never forget their floor one time. It looked like a parquet floor, but it was still the stage. The set designer had gone in and painted the floor to make it look like it was truly awesome.
Isn't it amazing?
I was absolutely flabbergasted.
Yeah. We have a couple artists who paint wood floors, and you would never know it's not a wood floor.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. I know it takes several days. It's not like you just throw a coat of paint on it and then put a carpet on top of it or a little throw rug, but it takes days. There's like 5 different coats of different things, and I admire them greatly. They are very talented.
They are.
Yeah.
And then the pieces that you can move, like if you might have a section of a set that it's this way facing for, let's say, the first half of the show, and then we take a little break and you come back and they've switched it and now you've got an entirely different wall.
We did Noises Off. Are you familiar with that play at all?
Yes.
So the first half is the play happening, and then after intermission, the whole 2-story set of this house rotated on a pivot. And then the second half of the play was what was happening backstage during this play that was.
Oh, how funny.
And we had a 2-story set on this rotating thing. It was so off the chart. It was so cool.
That is really cool. And I think that's another part that's just really fun, is trying to figure out, all right, now I have this concept. How am I going to make it work?
Exactly.
And the mechanics of making it work, because flipping something that big is pretty dicey.
It was very dicey. And I think, honestly, we did a little damage to our stage floor on that one because just of the weight and the spinning of it, because it had to spin like 3 times a night. But yeah, and that's the thing too, when our directors have to take into consideration what play they might want to do. The little cobblestone stage, 13 by 17, can only do so much. So if you find a play that you're passionate about, but it needs 9 doors and 2 stories and 20 actors, you're going to be outside in the amphitheater doing that play. And the amphitheater shows, because they are bigger casts, it's a lot more work.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes we have 30 volunteers behind the scenes for the 9 people that you see acting on stage. And it's so interesting when people recognize that. Like on opening night, we invite everybody that's worked on the show to come up onto the stage, and we thank them for their help.
Wonderful.
And the audience is like, oh my gosh, there's all those people that had a hand in bringing this production to the stage. So it's an eye-opener for a lot of people that don't think about the 3 months before the show and all the work and all the volunteers and stuff. So it's opening night's a fun night.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Mm-hmm. And do you have a little cast party afterwards on opening night?
We do. We do have a little cast party. Yeah.
That's nice.
We invite everybody down.
Okay, I was going to say, are the patrons invited?
The patrons are always invited, yeah. A lot of food and a lot of fun, and everybody's always relieved because the week before opening is a lot of work. It's where all the little details come together, and we usually rehearse. We run the show twice on Sundays, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then they take Thursday night off and they open on Friday. So everybody's pretty tuckered out by Thursday, and they're grateful to have that night off. But then they're all excited to have a real audience, and they come on Friday ready to rock and roll.
And so then the performances themselves are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
In the amphitheater, because we need the darkness for the lighting and whatnot, we're Friday night, Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
In the cobblestone, because it's a closed environment, we can pull off a Sunday matinee.
Okay.
So it's Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday matinee. So that helps. Because, again, there's such limited seats. It's nice to be able to add that extra performance every weekend.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, I thought you had a Mother's Day play last year.
We have a little special on Mother's Day. If one of our performance dates falls on Mother's Day, we actually hand out a little flower to all the moms in the audience. So that's kind of fun, just a little thing. But it's not a special performance.
Is that inside then?
Yes.
That one, because it's in May?
In the spring, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you might have snow, you never know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we might have snow this weekend.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So another little fun story, you mentioned the floor. During COVID, there was a theater company in the area. I honestly don't know which one it was. And they were sadly closing their doors. And they gifted us with their theater chairs.
How wonderful.
Yes. And our chairs in the Cobblestone Theater were 30 years old.
Right.
And they were not very comfortable anymore. So we gratefully accepted this wonderful donation, and one of our local volunteers was a contractor, and he volunteered to take out all the old chairs, and all the old chairs were out, and of course our carpet, 30 years old. So we said, okay, we're going to pony up the money and put new carpet in. Well, the carpet company came out and took one look at our sagging audience area and said, yeah, no, we're not doing this. You need to take up this wood and see.
Your contractor fired you.
Yeah, well, they just knew it was like sagging, and it wasn't necessarily very safe. So our contractor took up the carpet and took up all the wood and realized that, it was kind of a mess under there. So we needed to rebuild the audience area. But what we found, and what none of us knew was there, was this beautiful stone floor under the audience area. I mean, it was stunning. And we didn't know what to do with it. And the county wouldn't let us keep it because, of course, by standards, it wasn't weight-bearing and whatever.
Oh, no.
So we removed it stone by stone, all these big slabs of this beautiful floor. I wish I could show you a picture. And we reinstalled it on the top level of our amphitheater.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's beautiful over there. So now the top level, as you enter, it's this beautiful stone floor that's, I don't know how old, but I mean, as old as the Cobblestone Theater.
Right.
And we have a little plaque that says a little bit of history, and it shows pictures of where the stone was and where the stone is. So it was really beautiful that we were able to repurpose that and save that bit of history and still keep it within the theater properties.
That's just wonderful.
Isn't that fun?
Yes, it is.
All kinds of fun things.
Yeah. You know, and that's one of the things we do have to do is we have to manage to keep our history.
Exactly.
And if you can't keep it in the same place, well, then I think you guys came up with an excellent solution to that.
It was fun.
It would have been horrible to lose that floor.
Yeah, definitely. It was shocking when we found it. We're like, I mean, anybody would have killed to have it in their home. It was just this beautiful shades of warm golds and terracottas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
it was fun. Do you know
fun.
what kind of stone it is?
I have no idea. I don't.
You also don't know if it came from the area, but I wonder if it did.
It probably did.
Yeah.
But, you know, that building goes back to 18 whatever when it was Adolph's cigar shop back in the gold rush days.
Right.
So, yeah.
That would be really interesting to find out.
I know.
To find out what kind of stone it was and maybe where it came from, you know, because it probably was sourced locally.
I would assume. There is a quarry just up the street that's been there forever, but you never know.
Yeah.
Good project for somebody.
Absolutely. It's kind of like when you get a house, you buy a house, and then you rip the carpeting out, and all of a sudden you find out somebody had a beautiful hardwood floor under the carpeting.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Why did you cover this thing up?
I know, right? A gem in the rough.
Yeah.
So over our 50 years, because we just celebrated our 50 years, which is amazing. We've had 184 productions.
My goodness.
Over 50 years, and they were put on by 43 different directors.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so cool.
It is amazing. So when so first you're an assistant director for a couple of plays. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to, you can say, I'd like to be a director.
Right.
How many directors do you have on kind of standby, I guess?
Oh, maybe a dozen.
Okay, so they don't get to put a play on every year.
No, and nor do they mostly want to. We did have one director that put on a play every summer for 10 years, and it was like mind-blowing because you're in production for 3 months or 6 weeks, and then, again, he knew about it a year before. So for 10 years, his whole life was the theater. But most of our directors like to do every other year if they can.
Okay.
If they find a script that they feel passionate enough about, that they want to spend 6 months of all their free time doing just that. So God bless them, because it is a lot of work for the directors, but we have such amazing, talented people that have this vision. I'm not a director, by the way. Even though I've been with the company 30 years, that was something I never wanted to do. I go to auditions and watch and support the directors any way I can. But it's always amazing to me, all these people audition. You might have 30 people audition for 6 parts, and then they have to pick the people that they think are going to fit these parts the best and create the whole overall vision on stage. And I'm always shocked that they can pick these people, and I'm always like shaking my head going, really? Just because, for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And then they get into rehearsals and everybody starts memorizing their lines and gets into costume, and I'm always like, those were the right people. That director, whatever their vision was, they had the right vision, they picked the right people out of all these people. And it's just something that I never had a knack for, was that vision. But it always blows my mind that the directors always pick the perfect people for these parts.
And do those people always work well together?
Yeah, for the most part, because they're all there with a common goal, and they're all passionate about one thing, and that's putting on the best show they can. And everybody supports each other on stage. I mean, things don't go right all the time, right?
That's true. That's life, you know.
We always joke that we're thankful the audience has a program and not a script.
Yeah, there you go.
Because every once in a while something goes off, but everybody always supports each other on stage. We had a funny situation last year. We did this comedy called Beowulf and the Bard. Uh-huh. And it was a goofy comedy, and there was an ogre, this poor guy dressed from head to toe in this fur costume. And in Volcano, it gets warm in the summer.
I was going to say it's probably 100 degrees.
Man, yeah, he was a trooper. And he had this scene with Beowulf, this other actor. And as the scene went, the ogre was supposed to eat these peanuts, and he didn't realize what peanuts were, and he ate them, and then he had an allergic reaction to them. And as he was having this crazy allergic reaction on stage and doing all these funny physical comedy moves and saying his lines at the same time, there was a point in time where his arm was supposed to fall off, and his costume was made in such a way that he had a little thing to pull, and he put his real arm behind himself, and this fake arm would fall off. Well, it didn't always work when it was supposed to. So the funny part about it was backstage, we have a monitor. So anybody that's backstage, the director, the stage manager, and all the cast, if they're not on stage, they can be watching what's going on stage. So whenever this scene was going on, everybody was gathered around the monitor because nobody knew, was his arm going to come off? Was it going to come off in the right spot? Was it not going to come off at all? And one night it fell off like way before it was supposed to fall off. And the guys on stage, they just have to deal with that.
Right.
And one night it wouldn't come off at all, and we could tell that he was struggling, trying to get it to fall off. And eventually he just kind of walked into the wings, and nobody could see it. He pulled it off and threw it back on stage, and it was just like,
so
oh my gosh, the audience was so fun. They just kind of took everything with a grain of salt and knew it was just live theater. You know, anything can happen on live theater.
Well, and, you know, people may not have known that wasn't part of the script.
That's true, because they don't have a script, they have a program.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think some of the cast backstage were like taking bets on what was going to happen with the arm on any given night.
Oh, that's funny.
It was so fun, yeah. So it's just a great, it's a great family. A lot of these productions that get together, and sometimes people haven't worked together before. Sometimes they're brand new to the theater company. And you spend all this time together rehearsing and supporting each other for this wonderful common experience. And when the play is over, people stay in touch. People go out and see other plays together. There's whole group things where the whole cast from that play will get together and go out to dinner or whatever. They just stay in touch. And that very first play I was in, that I didn't get cast in, but all the people in that play I'm still in touch with. Some of them don't live here anymore, but I'm friends with them on Facebook.
Sure.
So it's just an amazing community of like-minded artists, and you just have these bonds and you develop these family relationships. It's magic.
So have you ever, now I think I might have asked you this, so did you go on to do other parts, though? You didn't get the first one, but did you audition for other plays? And
I did on occasion. I did. I've had a lot of fun. Being on stage is not my super comfort zone. For myself, I love building sets. I'm wearing tools and, pounding things. That's really fun. I love decorating sets, painting and finding the furniture and whatnot. I also produce a lot, which doesn't involve any money.
Okay.
For us, if your strong point is organizational skills, producer is your thing.
Okay.
You have a list of different things that must get done in a certain time period in order to support the production. And it could be anything from ordering the marquee to be printed and hung, to taking headshots of the cast, collecting biographies from the cast for the program. And the whole list overall, it's not that the producer has to do them all. Uh-huh. The producer can delegate anything if you have a photographer friend or,
right.
whatever, but they all have to get done in a certain time period. And that's kind of my forte.
All right.
I'm kind of an organizational freak.
It's good to have those, 'cause let me tell you, it's a struggle for me sometimes. So we have a producer that pretty much organizes everything and keeps you on track.
Yep.
Then you've got the director.
Yep.
Who has a vision.
Yes.
He conveys that to, you have a set designer, you have costume designers, and then you have the actors.
Yep.
Who am I forgetting?
Every production needs a stage manager.
Okay, and what does he do or she do?
They sit backstage in front of the monitor and they follow the script, and they make sure that every actor is ready to hit their mark.
Okay.
At coming and going on stage.
Right.
And they're also responsible for making sure that the props, if an actor has to carry on a glass of water or whatever, that the props are available. And they would also go on between scene changes and change anything that needs to be changed on the set during the scene change. Nice. So they're there every performance and a lot of rehearsals also, because they need to really know the play inside and out.
Oh, absolutely.
Another job would be script holder.
Okay.
And the script holder is there during the rehearsal process, and they follow the script through the rehearsal, and they make notes of what the blocking is.
Oh, all right.
So the director can always refer to the script holder's notes as if an actor forgets what mark they're supposed to make or what cross they're going to do on what line, they refer to the script holder, and the script holder says, okay, well, on this line, he moves from left to right, or he sits on this chair or whatever. So they keep a record of all of the action on the stage. And they will also eventually, as the actors have to put their scripts down, which is like the hardest thing ever, because that
sure
is your security blanket. And you might think you know those lines backwards and forward, but the minute you have to put the script down, your mind goes zzz. So the script holder is there in the audience, and the actors will be doing their lines, and if they forget a bit or they stumble, they stay in character and they just call line, and the script supervisor will feed them a couple words to get them going again.
Okay.
So the script supervisor is there for the entire rehearsal process to help with the...
And have you had people like alter their lines just a little bit? Not on purpose, because they just kind of got the wrong words in there, and then you've got somebody supposed to respond to them going...
It happens, but, you know, they've been rehearsing together for so long already, and you know the progression of the scene.
Right.
So usually people can get through it. I mean...
Yeah, pick it up.
Knock on wood.
Do a little improv.
We did have a play once where, oh my gosh, this happened to be one I was in, but that's irrelevant, kind of, but it was my very first time on stage.
Okay.
And there was a gentleman playing my dad and a gentleman playing my brother. I was the daughter, and there was a gal playing my mom. And brother and father were on the stage, and they were doing their bit. Well, Dad got a little ahead of the game, and he jumped like 10 pages.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. And I'm standing backstage waiting for my cue to walk on and do something. And then Dad was supposed to leave, and I was supposed to have a scene with brother. Well, Dad jumped ahead 10 pages, and I didn't know what to do. So the director said, get out there and say your line, and then Dad will recognize your line, and it will bring him back. Okay. So I go marching out on stage with my prop, whatever it was, and I say my line, and Dad looks at me and dismisses me. And I didn't know what to do. So I turned around and walked back into the green room, and the director was like, no. So luckily, the gal playing my mom, who was also one of our founding members and a fabulous human being, the director looked at her and said, you know what you're doing. Go out there and bring it back. And she walked on stage, and she interacted with Dad and got it to back on track, and everything carried on. But that's probably the scariest moment I've ever seen on stage.
It's a big hole in the play.
It was a big hole in the play. Mm-hmm. It was a big hole. But Sue saved the day, so.
All right. I have one question I want to ask you,
Yeah.
and that is, what is the largest play, meaning number of actors you guys have ever had on stage?
That is a good question. And I don't have an accurate answer, but I will say that usually the Christmas plays have a lot of actors. We've done A Christmas Carol multiple times, and of course there's a cast of, seems like thousands.
Yes.
One of my favorite Christmas plays that we did was A Christmas Story.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the movie with the leg lamp? And you're going to put your eye out with the BB gun and the... No, okay. It's like a Christmas standard almost. There's actually a television channel that I think airs it back to back for like 2 days straight at Christmas time.
Goodness.
So there's this line about you're going to put your eye out with the BB gun. He wants a BB gun for Christmas or whatever. And there was like 10 kids in the cast and 5 adults. And there was so much. This was in the cobblestone again because it was winter. And our green room isn't much bigger than our stage. Okay. And we had all of these kids and all of these actors. So we actually had to build like a tent-like structure with a heater in it outside in our backyard just to house the actors between scenes when they weren't on stage because there was just so many people. It was we didn't have a place to put them all. So that was kind of a challenge, but it was fun. The kids were fabulous. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was a great. That was such a great.
Almost out of time.
Oh my gosh, already.
I know. I told you this would be fun. Is there anything that we need to talk about before we leave today?
Thank you. And the only things I would like to say is that if anybody's interested in following us along, we are at volcanotheater.net online. You can also follow us on Facebook. Okay. We have a Facebook page, and that's really, we post a lot on Facebook. Our auditions coming up, we post. Our shows coming up, we post. A lot of other information.
What is the Facebook page?
Volcano Theater Company.
Just, okay.
Yep. And if you want to reach out and volunteer for anything or have any questions, we have email, volcanotheatercompany@yahoo.com. And theater is spelled Theatre, not ER. We have to make it hard, yeah.
No, I like that spelling.
So, we'd love to hear from anybody. And if anybody wants to volunteer and come on out or buy tickets or whatever, we'd love to have people because it's community theater.
Okay, and do you have a phone number?
It's not the best way to get in touch with us. Okay. We have a phone at the theater, but because the theater is not manned regularly, so the best way would be by email or if you have ticket questions and you go to the website, there's the phone number for our business manager.
Okay. Yeah. And then I imagine through Facebook you can always send a message.
Absolutely. Facebook Messenger is a fabulous tool.
Yeah, that's great.
So, we're just going to keep on having fun. Another 50 years.
All right. And that will make you, 100?
Oh, my gosh. Thanks. Way over 100.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you here today, Karen. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
And I thank our audience today. Please like and follow us wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, because we do both now. And please join us next time.